I'm aware that there's a sermon title printed in the service guide for this sermon that I'm about to deliver. And that one's fine, but let me just share with you the author's title, or the one that motivated me while I was working on this sermon. And it comes from the opening words of Psalm 121, Asa einai ahahari ma'ayin yavo ezri. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? In the description of creation in the first chapter of Genesis, everything makes sense. First, there is chaos, and then the universe begins to take shape. There is order. Night becomes day. Day turns to night. There is light and water and air before there is vegetation, and there is vegetation before there is animal life. And there is time. 5 days in the language of the Torah, billions of years by scientific accounts, before there is human life. The world of Genesis chapter 1 sounds dazzling too. It is adorned with mountains and streams and trees and flowers and grasses and clouds and populated by cute little pandas, fluorescent colored fish and birds, horses, elegant and spirited. There are humans too, humans who will figure out how to build wheels and discover electricity and create masterpieces of literature and music and art. The world now, too, and always, is a never-ending source of wonder and amazement and fascination. Sadly, most of us don't see the world that way. For one thing, we rarely notice the magnificence, and most of us don't get out into nature nearly enough. We should get out into nature for a multitude of reasons, and I will likely write that sermon someday. Today, my focus is on what we can do when the reality of our lives, the reality of our days, does not include walks on white sandy beaches or amidst sky-high redwoods. When the wonder takes backstage to difficulty, challenge, or tragedy. Today, my focus is on what we can do when we find ourselves walking through mud or through quicksand, or when we feel as if we are dodging bullets, when the earth shifts under our feet, when we fall ill, when our loved ones suffer, or when something that happens in an instant suddenly changes the course of our lives forever. My words this morning are dedicated to those times when we are hurt, when our hearts are broken, and when we feel challenged in impossible ways. Why such a gloomy topic for the first day of the new year? The answer is because there are people who have endured sorrow, who are enduring sorrow, who can teach us how to navigate our own hardships. What we learn from them today on the first day of the year will be with us when we need it, whenever we might need it, this year, next year, or some other year. I begin by sharing two stories of people who are today simultaneously suffering and sharing wisdom. Rabbis Michael and Phyllis Summer both serve congregations in suburban Chicago. They are the parents of 4 children. Both Rabbi Summer write entertaining and thoughtful blogs on their work, their families, and about living engaged Jewish lives. In June of 2012, their regular posts slowed down, and they started a new website, Superman Sam. This is what it says in the About Sam section of that page. Sam is a sweet and funny, now 7-year-old with acute myeloid leukemia. He relapsed and began a new set of treatments on April 1st, 2013, no joke. He has 3 siblings and 2 parents. He has a pet turtle named Speedy. Sam has an aggressive, they call it ninja, leukemia. At this point, all hope rests on his August 27th bone marrow transplant. The second story is about Ethan Kadish. Ethan was struck by lightning at Goldman Union Camp on June 29th. There were actually 3 children struck, but 2 escaped permanent injuries thanks to excellent training, clear thinking, and heroic efforts by staff and administrators, including our own member, Jordan Keitel. Ethan, however, has not recovered. His injuries are catastrophic, and while his parents, Alexia and Scott, report that he is healing on Ethan time, no one knows what will be. Through social media, these families have invited us into their stories, their journeys, their hearts. The results for them has been staggering, mind-blowing support. I used the 2 strongest words I could find, staggering and mind-blowing, but I still don't think they adequately describe the depth and range of loving care that these families have received. The result for us is that as they slog their way through disorder, they illuminate for us the comfort of faith, the value of asking for and offering help, and the role of community. Their stories have the power to change our lives. Throughout the month of Elul, which is the month that leads up to Rosh Hashanah, the month leading up to the new year, it is customary to recite Psalm 27 daily because it expresses the human need to connect with God at critical, pivotal moments. As we approach the new year, it's one of those times of change, growth. At a time when would it be reasonable to believe that God had forsaken her family, Rabbi Phyllis Summer wrote a response to Psalm 27, section by section. She's the one who's Sam's mom, who has Sam with leukemia. So section by section, Psalm 27, to the part that reads in the psalm, "Do not conceal your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You are my help. Do not abandon me. Do not forsake me, O God of my salvation." To those words, she responded, "There are so many possible paths. There are so many ways I can get lost. Help me to stay on the path, to stay the course, to be strong and full of courage. Help me to trust, to keep faith in those who lead and guide and help this path. Help me to continue to trust that God will continue to watch over and protect my family." There is only one response to that type of honest and fervent prayer, and so we say, Amen. Rabbis Michael and Phyllis Summer and Alexia and Scott will tell you that help comes from God, and it comes from family, friends, and it comes from perfect strangers. Nearly every single update, Ethan's mother indicates the updates on Caring Bridge. If you don't know what that is, it's a site where people can go and they're critically ill, and they put updates. So she writes these updates. Alexia, this is Ethan's mother. She writes, and every single one almost, just how important and critical and essential are the prayers, the offers of help, and the interests of others. 13 days after the accident, Alexia titled her dispatch, the update for that day, "Our roller coaster, all aboard." She writes, "We are not quite sure where this roller coaster ends, but we welcome all of you along for the ride. There will be times of great jubilation and times where your stomach feels like it is stuck in your throat, just like good roller coasters do." And then she concludes, "Your messages of support keep us going and moving us forward toward the next day." We have every reason to believe that this is not hyperbole. Ethan's website has over 67,000 visits and hundreds, if not thousands, of messages. Friends have stayed with Ethan overnight so his parents can attend to their other children, go to work, or just breathe. The family is sustained and nurtured by meals cooked by others. A blanket for Ethan was stitched together from squares made by knitters around the country. Sam, in the Milwaukee hospital, spends his long hours reading books, doing art projects, and playing with toys sent by friends and friends of friends. He is entertained and kept company by visitors. His parents and siblings receive daily inspiration from friends, acquaintances, colleagues, and strangers. This is what Rabbi Phyllis Summer wrote the day after Sam's bone marrow transplant, so this was last week. Our gratitude knows no bounds at this point. So many people carried us and sheltered our spirits and bodies to get us here. So many angels crossed through Sam's doors to make him laugh and smile and assure him how much he is loved and thought of in the outside world. So many angels who couldn't come in body traveled in spirit, sending messages and missives to buffer Sam's hardship and lift his lows. We will always need you, but we all hope that the days of celebration will outnumber the days of worry. So thank you. Feel our love and gratitude wrap you all up while you await all the pictures of our smiling, gleeful Sam as we wander around this new land, this new life of ours. This willingness to let others in is a gift in both directions. The benefits to these families are clear, but they're also clear to us. It is our honor to help. A few weeks ago, the URJ, the Reform Movement, launched a campaign to help Ethan's family. The cost for this medical care will be exorbitant. We put the notice in our weekly service bulletin, and I sent a letter to the entire congregation asking you to consider including the Kadish family in your tzedakah allocations. Some of you responded directly to the request. A couple of you let me know that you donated. One congregant handed me a generous check and told me that if I cared about this, he cared about it too. None of you know Ethan or Sam, but you know people who know them, and that connects us, one to another to another. A family circle cartoon shows Jeffy reacting to the sound of an ambulance's siren. That's good, he says. Someone is getting the help they need. What is the source of our help? When our world, so orderly today, become disordered, the sources of our help, our faith in God, our willingness to ask for and to receive help, and the strength of those around us. So many of you already know this. You ask for help, and you reach out to those who need help by calling people whose names you hear on our Mishaberach or prayer for healing list, by making soup and by offering rides, visiting and sending notes. It is possible to bring order to the disorder. I recently shared this poem at a wedding. It is a worthy teaching for us this morning as well. It doesn't only apply to people under the chuppah, the wedding canopy. You are holding up a ceiling with both arms. It is very heavy, but you must hold it up, or else it will fall down on you. Your arms are tired, terribly tired, and as the day goes on, it feels as if either your arms or the ceiling will soon collapse. But then, unexpectedly, something wonderful happens. Someone, a man or a woman, walks into the room and holds their arms up to the ceiling beside you. So you finally get to take down your arms. You feel the relief of respite, the blood flowing back to your fingers and arms. And when your partner's arms tire, you hold up your own to relieve him, to relieve her again. And it can go on like this for many years without the house falling. I had an unusual request this year. My son Avi, who actively seeks to avoid the limelight, asked me to mention him in a sermon. He says, "Tell a story about me or something." My sentimental side was touched. My cynical side wondered if what I wrote could somehow end up in one of his college essays that he has to do. My sentimental side won out, but not in the way he may have imagined. So, Avi, this sermon is for you. It's for Asher, too, and for every son and daughter, mother, father, spouse, partner, friend, family member, colleague, member of this community. It's for all of us, because we have no idea when we will be teachers of acts of faith, generosity, and community, or when we will be recipients. The lines are blurry like that, reminiscent of the swirly jumble of light and dark, water and land described in the creation story. The promise of the creation story, the brilliant and miraculous part of this world, is that out of the blurriness, out of the disorder, comes order. Not just once, not just that first time, but every day. This year, may all of us, the sick and the well together, the blissful and the sorrowful, the fulfilled and the searching, the content and the disheartened, find courage and hope together. Shana Tova.